Welcome back to this topic at the Sacred Gates YouTube channel on our multidimensional selves as a being of multi-dimensions and how we can use that for benefiting ourselves and also to the detriment as well, depending on how you operate your mind and your body when you're doing healing work and energy work and developing yourself. So if you're someone that likes to do channeled writing and connecting to spirit guides and angels and different frequencies of light or dark, depending on your level of awareness, we have to be very, very careful. So many people that start to open themselves up spiritually, energetically, can really, really get themselves in trouble. And you may have heard of the term Kundalini Awakening, which can either be a positive experience, which is generally done safely, incrementally over time, or it can be a very negative, scary experience, which is often done through brute force methods, very, very quickly, and can be a very scary experience that can lead someone into even psychosis. Once you experience psychosis from a dramatic and sudden forceful Kundalini awakening, what happens is you actually fracture. First you thin out your matrix, your field. Eventually it creates fractures in your matrix, which generally, similar to a broken arm, a broken bone will always have been broken. You'll always, even when it's healed and the bone fibers have stitched themselves and healed and mended and woven themselves back, your body will always have the history, the memory of the break. So you'll always have a weakness. Similar to a woman who's had a cesarean section for whatever reason, she'll always have weak connective tissue in that area. So if you are damaging yourself energetically and psychologically and thinning out your matrix, you're actually fracturing through the practices you're doing. Through using forceful practices, you're shattering your energy body. And some people either don't come back from that, or they always have to be very, very careful. So please be careful when you're using different techniques to bring on more of your Kundalini awakening. We have to be very careful. So this particular video, I just wanted to talk about being aware of who you're channeling. So a very long time ago, I spent many years working with angels and spirit guides. I used to do drawings of spirit guides and readings for other people and for myself. I now no longer do that. I do work with the Sacred Gates master teachers, but their messages and energies come through my abilities. They come through the principles. So it's much, much safer. If you are starting out on this path and you're getting really excited about hearing voices and writing from these guides, just remember, both myself and you and everyone else on the planet generally are not as we often think that we're more aware than we really are, that we're more discerning and more perceptive than we really are. And it's not to insult you or myself or everyone on the planet. It's just that we need to kind of just assume these things about ourselves so that we do keep ourselves safe and that we can then become more perceptive just by not making any assumptions about these things. So what happens when you start to open your body up? If you're using forceful principles where you're using the breath and you're using a lot more like yang or fire energies, and you're not really working with your physical body that much, and you're using your physical body to bring in a lot of energy before your spiritual foundations are built, you do run the risk of opening up too fast, not releasing enough, and then your body is not ready for the energies that are going to come in. Now, if you're looking to work with guides, there are plenty of guides, but remember what I said. When you're a multidimensional being, you're able to expand multidimensionally up and out and down. And so when you're giving off your light, there are many guides, and not all of them are good. Just because you feel that they're a spirit guide of positive energy of light, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are. This is what I was talking about, just making the assumption that you are really discerning. Just because you're feeling something, hearing something, just because you are practicing spiritual practices, it doesn't mean that you 100% know who's out there helping you. Spirit guides aren't necessarily divine light beings. A lot of them are actually operating at a very similar level to this level of reality here, even below or just above. A lot of the spirit guides that people are working with right now may not be as healing and as divine as they actually make out to be. In fact, in the astral, if you come across a being that is a being of the dark, a negative being with bad intent, the most dangerous ones are the ones that are the most charming, kind of like politicians. They say all the right things, they look really suave, really charismatic, they appear to be very connected to you and charming, and underneath it all, they're not like that at all. In fact, the beings of the dark, of the realms of darkness and more density, the ones that look the most scary are the easiest ones to kind of clear away and clear off. But the ones that are really detrimental to us and the most trickster are the ones that look and look like light beings. So you need to be very, very careful. A lot of the times, if you're a newbie at channeled writing, you might start to hear a voice and get images and really believe and feel that and know that you're working with a light being and you're receiving information and it's wonderful and you're writing and all these things. But you have to be very careful that you are grounded, that you're working really in reality, that logic is there. You need to be honest. You need to make sure. Sometimes it's hard to know whether you're heading towards psychosis. You really need to look carefully at the practices that allowed you to arrive at a place of such openness, and know that not every being has your best intentions. In fact, most beings, if not all, just like human beings, care about themselves and worry and concerned about what they're going to get out of it. So if you're speaking, communicating, channeling a being that wants something in return for what you think you're getting from them, I would stop right there. Any being that is trying to create a contract with you has an investment in getting something from you in return for something else. Now, if you're working with true divine light beings, like real bodhisattvas, real healers, real healing beings of very, very high level, they do not want anything from you, because in order to get something from you, they have to enter a contract, and being in a contract with you feels like a burden to them. They don't want that hindrance, they don't want that attachment with you, and so they will not enter. They'll support you in your development, but they won't actually ask and oblige you to take something from them in return for something else. There's no contract like that. So be very careful when entering into communication with beings that are contractual beings. There's a lot of baggage in that, and sometimes it can lead you down a much darker path than you are aware of at that time, or later on you may look back and go, oh wow, that was actually not a great choice for me. So I'll bring this conversation to an end now, and just a warning, a word of warning about how we as humans work, our matrix, our technology, the way our multidimensional mind works as a tool for transformation, which can be to our own detriment if we're not careful. Be really careful what techniques you are using to open up your body. That's why at the Sacred Gates, we teach principle-based practices that are completely focused on releasing, because if you don't release enough when you're using some of these more brute force techniques, which may not be something you think are brute force, but when you actually look at the principles of release, you may realize they are brute force techniques. You have to be very careful, because you won't be releasing enough as you're like opening yourself up to a higher wattage of input. So just a word of warning. Thanks guys for tuning in. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.